coyote guy.
Karaoke stuff.
That's terrible.
It's actually not true. He filled the room.
This is the first I've heard of it.
It was very nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say his concert was pretty
All right, JJ, it's now 2 o'clock. Give me a game.
Security has said I'm allowed to start the panel now.
I love you.
Let me just go back to the slider and turn up the volume a little.
It's just so close to like a good night.
Cool.
Maybe some person.
Alright, give me a second.
And then like FXX has like the Simpsons
Wow, that's loud.
going on right now. So
Is that too loud? Should I turn this down?
Yes.
Fine.
You're so loud.
Not loud enough. I can Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicolas Cage. Or I should say one of my names is Nicolas Cage. And I'm here today to talk to all of you about making sure that your vehicles are ready for a road trip to a convention or any other location that you might be driving to, wherever that ends up being, in the US, in Europe, wherever you're from. I don't know all of your backgrounds. However, just for some background on me so that you know where I'm coming from, both of the cars that I daily drive are almost 40 years old, and they both have about 200,000 miles, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of miles, but for most cars, they usually fall apart before they get to about 150,000. So it takes a bit of effort to keep the cars going past that point. While both of my cars have been fairly reliable on me, they have not been without their bouts of funny moments, I should say. Especially with my Jeep when I first bought it. So I have a 1989 Jeep Wrangler as my main vehicle, and my other vehicle is a 1986 Toyota Tercel wagon, which some of you might have seen. It's got the little colorful paint job on it.
Sorry, I thought I canceled that request. Got it. Oh, okay.
You're distracting me. This is my show. Why is security trying to work in the middle? You pick the front row and you're here making comments. Whatever. I'm watching you. Got my eye on you. He's gonna arrest me.
I'm here as a fan to support your content. I'm being abused here.
All right, so I lost my train of thought. Give me a second.
What about maintaining your cars? Hey, if we wanted to learn how to maintain our old vehicles, is there like a stream that we could maybe watch to learn about that?
Yeah, I mean, I have been doing a lot of live streams recently, just showing me working on random car maintenance stuff. Which, funny story, I was actually changing the brakes on his Chevy Tahoe for him last week before coming here while it was 25 degrees outside. That was not fun, but I did it. And as far as maintenance you can do yourself on your car, changing your brakes is one of the most satisfying ones, because when you put new brakes on your car, it is nice and crisp and good. It feels good to have that done, and you don't pay $1,200 for a shop to do it for you. Cheap.
Oh.
Anyway, so yeah, I've driven both these cars a long time, and I've had to fix a lot of random, minor problems with them. Most of it is like small oil leaks or small coolant leaks or something like that, and that's what this panel is about, is kind of showing you how to look for stuff like that so that you can catch it before it actually becomes a problem. Because the last thing you want is for me to try and reinflate one of your tires that are flat before you drive your car home, and I decide before turning the engine on, let me just check the oil first. And then I pop the hood and I pull the oil dipstick, and what did I find? Allie?
I didn't realize this was gonna be a call-out panel.
There was no oil. She was driving her van with no oil. And so I decided it would not be the best of my intentions to turn the engine on so I could reinflate the tire, so we instead went to go get oil. But that's what this is about. This is to show you what not to do.
That's why I walk everywhere.
Maybe. As I knock this thing over. Okay, let me not get tangled here. Oops.
Tangled.
Sorry, it's my first time. Wow.
He's so nervous.
I'll start us off with a video because I love videos. Oh, come on. on. Oh, it's not even on the screen. Oh, technical difficulties. Hello?
Hey, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how hard is a brake job to do?
Look at this.
It's part of the material. No, I don't know.
For whatever reason, it was advancing the slides, but it wasn't actually doing anything. Let me try this again. Look, this worked at my house. It's not my fault.
This panel is very unprofessionally run. This will reflect.
Now what?
It's green.
It's, you might have unplugged the plug somehow. It says searching for source.
Yeah, make sure the HDMI or whatever is all the way in, making good contact.
Well, I think it's because I turned the PowerPoint on before it actually plugged the thing in, so.
There you go.
There's,
Yeah.
You're back.
Okay, yeah, it has the little presentation mode for me, so I can. Is it gonna work?
yes.
Wrong on the L panel.
Even actually, you came to MFF one year.
No comments from the peanut gallery. But yeah. I know I'm a Facebook furry, I'm aging myself. Hey, Torrance! Can I get a ride to the con? I don't have any money, but it would be really nice to see all my friends and that stuff.
Sure.
This isn't what I had in mind.
Hopefully DinGo traumatizes neighbors.
I love videos, so. Oh, and I almost tripped and killed myself again. Okay. So here's what we're going to be going over today. I broke this down into different sections so we can kind of go through the tiers of what things you want to be looking for first versus what things you could maybe put off until later. And then we'll just talk about some extra stuff at the end. So it should flow nice and smooth. We'll see how this goes. You know what? Can I actually have somebody do the slides for me so that I don't have to keep walking back and forth?
Bryant? Oh,
Cool.
cool.
You have a volunteer.
Ah, okay, thank you. All right, next slide, please. I feel like a college professor.
Sorry, the constipated saws on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what is absolutely necessary, according to me. And just so you know, I know everything.
Nice.
The entire knowledge of the universe belongs to me. It's all stored inside these ears. Okay, I'm gonna move over here so I can actually, let me try not to block the view. Thank you for helping, by the way. So first of all, your spare tire. If your car has one, I know that a lot of newer cars don't really do that anymore for whatever reason. They just have that can of like fix-a-flat or whatever it is. But for those of you that do have spare tires, the first thing you want to check is to make sure your spare tire is actually there, first of all, that you have a spare tire. And second, it's actually in usable condition if you need to use it, because obviously road debris just kind of comes up out of nowhere. On occasion, you might hit like a nail or something and end up like me when I was trying to pick up, where is he? He's asleep. When I was trying to pick up Fen from the bus station, and I'm on the highway, and I'm like, man, the rear of my car is getting really, really loud, and my car starts like doing this, and oops, my tire was flat. I guess I hit a nail in between getting on the freeway and getting to the exit he had to go to. So had to just pull off on a side road somewhere, but luckily for me, my spare tire is fully functional, so I was able to just put the spare tire on and then continue to pick him up from the bus station. But for a lot of people that I have found on the side of the road, they did not have a usable spare tire, or it didn't have air in it, or they didn't have it at all, or they didn't have any of the tools to actually remove the tire so they can do the spare replacement. Because the last thing you want to do when you're either going to a convention or coming home from a convention is sitting on the side of the road for like 3-4 hours waiting for a tow truck to come change your tire for you because you didn't have something to do it yourself, which, like, the tow truck will come eventually. They'll also charge you like $160 and you'll be waiting there for like 4 hours because they take their time. So to avoid that from happening, it's good to just make sure that you have a spare tire and that you can use it. I'm trying to like read this from over here.
How inflated should an average spare tire be?
The owner's manual will tell you. I'm not going to just give you random numbers. Google is your friend. Just kidding. I'm not going to make you Google it, but while I said I know everything earlier,
Should be on there.
asterisk sign. Yes, what do you got?
Spare tire usually has tire pressure on the side of the tire. Or the door jam the driver.
Yes, the door jam will show it. It varies. It depends on if it's a full size or if it's a donut. Like, it varies on a lot of things, so I can't just give one single answer because the answer in the world of statistics, it depends. But yes, first place to check your owner's manual or inside the door if you have a normal one. Also be careful when you are looking at the tire label, the tire information that is on the sidewall, because normally they list the maximum PSI. So that's the absolute max pressure you want to set it to. That's normally not the operating pressure, but some of them do also have both max and normal operating for that vehicle, but it just, once again, depends. So yeah, next up, car jack, because I feel like I'm talking too loud again.
It's fine.
Because you could have a spare tire, but if you don't have a jack or the tools to actually change your tire out, the spare tire is kind of useless. So you need to have all of them together. And that's mainly where I'm getting at with this one. You also need a proper lug nut wrench. Don't be like one of my friends who tried to change out their tire with a normal like 3/8 inch socket, because you do not have enough arm strength to actually unscrew lug nuts with a 3/8 inch socket. You can try, and it's really going to hurt, but it's better to have a normal, like the L wrench that the car comes with, or like one of those little crisscross speed wrenches or something. Like, it makes it a lot easier. Just have the right thing so that it's just there if you need to use it. Where are we? Need to like stand over here. Yeah, wheel lock key. If you have a wheel lock, I think this relates to someone recently. You want to tell us your story?
Yeah. Do I get to come up there and use the mic?
Well,
I mean, if you want to.
she doesn't have to tell us her story. She's the main character. We all know her story.
Yeah.
What's the lesson that we're teaching?
Is the anime flashback episode?
Don't be a pink furry.
I failed step 1.
I'll summarize it for them because I had a similar experience. If you have your wheel lock for your car so that somebody doesn't steal them. If you don't know what a wheel lock is, it's those little like ratchety things that you can put across the steering wheel or on the pedals or something to kind of lock it so people can't steal your car or have a harder time stealing your car. The problem with that is if you only have one key for it and you lose your keys wherever you're at, then how are you going to get it off? Yes, you could do that, but if you don't know how to lockpick or your lockpicking kit isn't good enough for that, then you have to have a locksmith come drill it out, and then your car fills with metal shavings, and it is not a good time driving home after that. And they also charge you like $160, just like the tow truck driver. So if you're going somewhere that's far away, I kind of gauge it at like 100 miles or more. If you're driving 100 miles or more, that's usually the point where it's going to be annoying if you lose your keys or something, because then you have to wait for the lockpick person or get your car towed back home or something. So make sure you have at least 2 sets of keys and bring both of those sets of keys with you. And if they're your car keys, keep one set of car keys in like your back pocket or something where you're not planning on touching them. That way, if you lock your keys in your car, you can just pull out the spare key and re-unlock the door so that you don't have to call a locksmith for that either. Just simple stuff. Ask me how I know. Just kidding, I'll just tell you the story. So I was with the Arizona Jeep Club in like whatever year it was. We were off on this off-roading trail in the middle of nowhere, south of Tucson. And after about an hour or two of driving into the desert, we stopped at some waypoint because we were geocaching. And so I got out of my Jeep and we walked to the geocache and we did the thing we were doing, and I went to go back to my Jeep and the door was locked and I had my windows up. So it was like, okay. And then I was like, where are my keys? They're not in my pockets. Uh-oh. And this was a little worse than if you're in like a Walmart parking lot, because we are literally in the middle of nowhere. And so after a while searching around, because I thought I dropped them on the ground somewhere, I actually found them still in the ignition, but the doors were locked. So with the Jeep Club's ingenuity, we took some hose clamps and some random pieces of wire that people had in their trunk, and we just kind of stuck a hole through the window and managed to unlock the door to get back in. But I learned my lesson that I should bring a spare set of keys with me so that that doesn't happen. Or maybe I should buy a soft top for my Jeep so I can just rip a hole in the window if I need to get in there. But anyways, that's the point I'm trying to make here, is the spare keys will save you if something like that happens. It has happened to me. It's happened to them with their wheel lock. It just happens. Yeah, spare fuses. This one isn't quite necessary anymore because most new cars don't really have electrical issues as much as older cars had electrical issues. I think car manufacturers have gotten much better at building their electrical systems to not have problems. But when you have older cars like mine, you might just be driving down the road, you'll hit a bump, and your car will just turn off because it blew a fuse somewhere, which happened to me when I was driving my car back from the body shop somehow. And if you just have spare fuses with you, you can just swap that out and go on your way, and everything's good. So I just have this in here as kind of a point, so you can maybe have some fuses in case you or someone else needs fuses, because you never know, you might find someone else at like a gas station or something. Like my old roommate, his Toyota broke down because he blew a fuse at random on his way home from our house a few months ago, and some guy just stopped on the side of the road to ask him if he needed help, and he just happened to have the fuse he needed. So I thought that was pretty funny. Otherwise, he was trying to get me to, he was trying to convince me to go to U-Haul and rent one of these U-Haul trucks to just bring down to where he was 2 hours south and just drive his truck home the rest of the way with that, which I wasn't really feeling like doing, so at least he got that fixed. Okay, insurance or registration, unless you want to be a gangster like me. I'm from St. Louis. You want to know how many cars I see every day that either have no license plate, expired registration, or a paper plate with a year that is nowhere near the current date? I don't have enough fingers. I only have 4 on these hands, but I don't have enough fingers to count how many cars I see every single day like that in St. Louis, especially the one that hit me doing 30 over on the freeway 2 years ago. But that's a different story. But yes, so make sure your car's insurance and registration is good, because the last thing you want on your way to a convention is to get pulled over and be given a $400 ticket from Illinois Highway Patrol because your car's plates are expired and somehow the police car ended up behind you while you're driving up to Chicago. So to prevent any annoyances with that, just maybe check a week beforehand so your plates aren't expiring the day you're leaving. I don't have a story for that, but I know someone else that happened to last year, I think. USB car charger and portable battery. Ask me why. Who wants to ask me why?
Why, JJ?
Why is that?
So, AnthrCon 2017 was the first time I flew by myself to AnthrCon, and being the all-knowledgeable Nicolas Cage, I bought my own plane ticket for the first time, because normally I'd fly with my friends and they would buy the tickets for me. Brian's gone now. He was the one that would organize the tickets so we could all get seats next to each other on Southwest. So I bought my own ticket this time, and for some reason, actually no, I'll tell the story normally. So I fly to AnthrCon, so I get off the plane, I get my bags, I'm walking outside with my bags, I'm outside waiting for the shuttle, or the cab or whatever it was that I was gonna call, because Uber didn't exist back then. And my friend sends me the address of the hotel. And he's like, here's our hotel, and you can just have the taxi person take you straight there so that we can meet you there. And I'm like, okay. And so I click on the address, and Google Maps opens on my phone, and then the map zooms out. And it zooms out, and it places a route, and it says 5 hours and 30 minutes to get there. And I was like, wait a minute. And I look at where I am, and I'm in Philadelphia. I bought a flight to Philadelphia for AmtherCon because for some reason I thought Philadelphia and Pittsburgh were the same thing. And I didn't realize that until I was literally outside with my suitcase at the Philadelphia airport waiting for the shuttle. And I'm like, oh no, now what do I do? So, in my infinite knowledge, I just flagged down the first rental car truck that I could find, which was Hertz, just for whatever reference. Because a hopper flight from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh is how much money? How do you think it is same day?
300.
I would have bought one if it was $300. No, it was $1,150 one way, which means I would have had to spend $2,000 for whatever to fly both directions. So instead, I hopped on a rental car shuttle, which I learned in Philadelphia that they don't actually stop. You have to wave at them for them to stop for you. So I was sitting there for like 45 minutes just watching them drive by like where do they actually pick me up from? But they eventually stopped for me. Whoa. Let me just back up a little so I don't die again. And so on the way to the rental car place, this is a very long story just to get to the point I'm trying to make. But you need all the background for this. So I get to the rental car place, I book the rental car while I'm on the bus to get there, and the only thing that I have left is this little tiny, like, Chevy Sonic, I guess. And so I look at it and I'm like, okay, it has a USB plug so I can plug my phone in. And that is literally all I need because I can put the navigation on the screen. So I accept the Chevy Sonic and I drive off the lot, and I'm on my way to Walmart, and I'm like trying to plug my USB into the thing on the center console while I'm driving, and I'm like, why isn't this thing fitting? So when I finally get to Walmart, I just like stop and like turn the lights on in the car, and I'm looking down at this USB plug, and it's not actually a USB plug, it's just the slot for USB, but the car wasn't optioned with the sound system, so there's no actual USB in there, it's just a hole. And I'm like, okay, that's gonna be a problem, because I don't have a charger for my phone, and this is a 5-hour drive. And so, as I expected, actually this was after I left Walmart, so I could have bought a charger when I was at Walmart, but since I already left, I was like, no, I'll be fine. But turns out, about 3 hours into it, my battery died on my phone, so here I am at 2:30 in the morning, sitting on the floor in a gas station in random central Pennsylvania, trying to charge my phone to like 20% battery, just so that I could use the navigation to get the rest of the way there. And so from this lesson, I learned I should have packed one of those little cigarette lighter chargers for my car, because that would have come in handy. So therefore, just in case, you should have a charger for your phone if you're going long distances, which I'm sure most of you do now. I have one of those like little magnet ones on my dashboard, which is really nice. But just having a charger for your phone when you're going long distances is good in case you get lost or you get sidetracked or something. You are able to charge your phone if you need to. So I consider that very important, and I learned my lesson. And yes, I did get to drive the 5 hours back to Philadelphia to take my return flight. So Hertz was very shocked when I returned the car after 3 days with 700 miles on it. What else? Okay. Practice changing your tire at home. This one is important because while you might have all of the supplies to change your tire, if you have never done it before, it is a lot nicer to learn how to do when you are sitting outside your house or in your garage or wherever, and you're not on the shoulder of a road with cars flying by you at 70 miles an hour. It's a little more hectic doing it that way, so it is good to practice at home so that if it does happen on the side of the road, you are more comfortable doing it so that you don't have any problems or you don't miss any steps, and you can do it faster next time. And it also verifies that you actually have all the supplies you need to change your tire. Okay, that covers everything for absolutely necessary. Do you have any questions so far on what I went over? Bueller. Oh, sorry, I only have so much vision in here. What do you got?
Not necessarily a question, but more of a statement. Just when you replace your tires, just go check it again after you do put the tire
What do you mean? What are we checking?
The lug nuts.
The lug nuts, yes. So lug nuts on a car are funny because if you are for example, if you're a mechanical engineer, you know that bolts go under cyclic loading on a rotational assembly. And I know a lot of those words are scary for some of you, but the reason why the lug nuts loosen themselves is because when you first tighten them, that's basically static loading, which means it's not moving. And once you rotate the wheel, the top bolt on the top of the wheel is going to be pulled on, the bottom bolt is going to be pushed on, and as it rotates around, then the bottom bolt is now going to be pulled on, and the top bolt is going to be pushed on. It's going to keep doing that, so it's basically like pushing and pulling over and over as you're driving down the road, and that slowly loosens the lug nuts as you're driving. So that is why you actually need to re-tighten them after a certain distance, because they'll loosen themselves a little bit, and you re-tighten them to kind of correct for that. Otherwise, they'll just keep loosening themselves, and then your wheel might fall off eventually. So, yes, that is a good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
JJ, question for
Yeah, guess whose wheel almost fell off leaving my house?
Why is it always them? Was
Because
the US
they never leave. I
was
can't
the-
get them to leave.
Was the USB battery charger because of my Tahoe? I was just curious.
No, I was telling them the story of my car when I rented it. You remember when you met me at Anthrocon when I showed up at like 4:30 in the morning because I had to drive the... Yes?
One thing I'd like to add is I see a lot of people doing this where I live, but don't just drive on your spare tire.
Drive.
Because it's only rated for so many miles.
3,000, yeah. Effort.
The amount of cars I see in St. Louis that just have a spare or two spares. The Nissan Altima where both rear wheels are a spare tire, like the little donut. But yes, when you do put your spare on, you want to get a new normal tire as soon as possible. And I know if it's a con weekend, obviously that's a little bit annoying, but you don't want to drive home on your spare, because if that spare goes flat, because who knows how long it's been sitting in the back of your car, then you already used your spare. Now you don't have one to replace it with. So we're back to the first rule of make sure your spare is functional. That was the first thing I did after I picked him up from the bus station. Was I called the tire shop and had him ship in a new tire, because my car, of course, had the special snowflake tires that they didn't carry in stores. They had to ship them from some warehouse somewhere. So unfortunately, I had to drive on my spare for like a day or two until it came in, but then I got that changed back out immediately. So yes, also a good point. Thank you. All right. Next slide, please. What time is it? Just so I know if I need to speed up or not.
3:28.
It's 3:30 already? Man, I got through one slide. Okay, important. So, not absolutely necessary, but important because it's helpful. Windshield cleaning. I hate all of you if I'm going to sit in your car and you have that white film on the inside of your windshield. I hate you. Just know that. I'm going to make a comment about it immediately as soon as I sit down in your car. That film is going to reflect light at nighttime. It's going to make it harder to see. It's going to collect moisture when it's humid out, and it's going to make the inside of your windshield fog up. It just makes it much harder to be a driver. So if you clean all of that off, it makes it a lot nicer. It makes your drive much more leisurely because you can see everything clearly.
That's annoying.
And it's annoying, yes. So please clean your windshields. And also the insurance might use that against you if you get in a car accident. They're like, oh, you couldn't see well enough because your car had film on the inside.
And it's only worth $300 anyway.
Yeah. Okay. First aid kit. Maybe not for you. Maybe if you come across a car accident, you can stop and give it to somebody who is helping there so that they can use the first aid kit. I carry one in both my cars just so that I have it on hand, just in case. I am CPR, AED certified. Also stop the bleed, but I need to get recertified on that one because it's been a few years, so I can kind of help with car accidents. Not quite an EMT person, but I'm okay-ish. Checking for fluid leaks and checking the levels of your fluid. This is the fun one because this is what I was doing to Allie's car when I saw that it didn't have any oil. Or my roommate when he was like, hey, my check engine light's on and my engine's acting funny. And I'm like, okay, so the first thing I do is pull his dipstick. And what did I find?
No oil?
Nothing.
No oil. Weird how this keeps happening. So yes, if you have an older car or just a car in general, like obviously if your car's a year or two old, it's not gonna be that big of a deal because it's new, it's not gonna burn oil or leak coolant or something. Maybe, hopefully it's not gonna do that unless it's Kia.
diesel.
But,
With a death.
but yes, If you have an older car, you want to check your coolant level on occasion, you want to check your oil on occasion. Those are the two major ones that will make your engine blow up if you run them low. Coolant, because it'll overheat, it'll pop the head gasket, and then a shop will quote you like $2,000 to change your head gasket, which is more than the car's worth. So if you don't want that to happen, make sure your coolant is full. The easiest way to check that is taking off the radiator cap when the car has sat overnight and the engine is cold. Do not open it when it's hot. It is under pressure. It will shoot coolant everywhere. It will burn you. It will taste really bad, as I found out.
Poison, you know that, right?
Yummy. So colorful. Forbidden Gatorade. And then, obviously, engine oil. Your engine needs oil. If you run low on oil, your engine will just explode into very sparkly, shiny glitter. So you don't want that to happen either, because when that happens, your car is also worthless, and then you have to buy another one. If you need help finding where your oil dipstick or wherever it is, your owner's manual should have a little diagram showing where it is, because I know it varies depending on vehicle. But I usually check mine because my car engines I replaced, so the engines are newer, but the cars themselves are still old, and you can only trust engine shops so much. So I still check my oil and coolant at least once a month, because I fixed all the leaks on my cars, so they've been pretty good at this point. But you want to check it just to see if there's anything new that might have developed. All right, what next? The spare set of keys. I already talked about that story, so we can skip that one. Ugh. I need those wireless mics, so I stopped tangling myself in this. The waterproof rain poncho, that's just something you can buy. They're like, what, $4 at the store, and you can just keep it in your trunk, because the last thing you want to do is have to change your spare tire on the side of the road when it is downpouring, and then you have to get back in your car completely soaked. So that'll at least help you in that case, which doesn't happen that often, but if it does happen, it's going to suck if you don't have one. So I thought that would be important to add in. Flashlight, most phones have those now, so it's not quite necessary, but it's good to have a dedicated one just in case, like, if you get in a car accident and your phone goes flying out the window somewhere, you at least know where another one is.
Well, also, if you're talking on your phone to get help to find something.
Yes, that too. Jumper cables. This is my favorite important one, and this one I should technically have in the necessary section, because these are not for you. You are going to find so many other people that have dead batteries that will need a jump. I carry jumper cables in both my cars. Only a month or two ago, I actually helped one of my neighbors at the gas station that I was getting gas from, because I guess they had a dead battery, but they just needed to go get fuel, and his son was driving, so he mistakenly turned the engine off, so then now it was dead. So my little tiny Toyota had to jumpstart this giant Chevy truck. But it worked. And I just happened to be there right across from them when that happened. And they were also like, hey, I've seen your car. You always drive down the street. And I'm like, oh, cool. But it was funny getting to talk to them. Yes, what do you got?
Behind you, question.
What?
Behind you, question.
Oh, you have a question?
Yeah.
What do you got?
I actually, I keep jumper cables in my car. I've had to do it like more than like 5 times before. Yeah.
Cool. Did everybody hear that, or do you need him to say it again? Don't all talk at once. You're good? Okay, but yes, I've jumped more people than I've needed to be jumped, but it is also nice if you have a dead battery yourself.
I thought you were a bottom. Sorry.
Man.
Sorry, just slipped out.
Tire pressure and a gauge. It's good to carry a tire pressure gauge in your car. That way you can check your tire pressure on occasion, because you never know when you might run over a nail or something. Maybe it's a slow leak. At least new cars have tire pressure sensors now. Mine don't, so I have to manually do it, which is kind of lame. But I know Amazon sells those little wireless things you can put on your wheels so that you can kind of add that to your car. So it's on my Amazon wish list. But yeah, so before you go on a road trip, you want to check your tire pressure. It helps give you better gas mileage, gives you better traction. What do you got?
You can also get like the plug into your cigarette lighter or air pump for your car for like $25.
Yeah, I carry one of those in my car. It's from Harbor Freight. I think it was $25. It's lasted me forever. As long as you follow the instructions, it will function properly.
You should get one from Wish, and we'll see what it does.
That's fine. I'll test out this wish.com fuel pump on the bike soon enough, so we'll see. I'll become the Ghost Rider soon.
JJ, questions to your left.
What?
I was gonna say, on the charger thing, a big thing is the battery. It can work as a charger, and it's like, it's great. Oh my god.
You mean the like the charger for the phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have those fancy ones now that have like, they have the air compressor built in, the jumper cables for your car, and then it has plugs to charge your phone and whatever else. You can get all of those. I think my roommate has one of those. You have something?
Just quickly about the jumper cables thing, for the sake of the people in the car, they might not be electrically inclined. How should you hook up jumper cables from one battery to another?
Well, the black side goes on your left nipple, and wait, what are we talking about? So, let me try and rewind a little. When you are jumping a car, there's a lot of YouTube videos that show you how to do it, but I'll kind of give a little basic description. When you are helping somebody jump their car, your car's battery is basically trying to take the place of their car's battery. So the way you do that is you have to hook your positive up to their positive, because it's basically jumping over their dead battery to run their engine for them, which is why you have to do positive to positive. If you hook positive to negative, you are basically creating a looping circuit to the ground on their car, and then your jumper cable is basically turned into lightning and it explodes. So, as long as you think in terms of you're trying to take the place of their battery, so you want to hook your positive up where their positive is. And that is how you jump their car, because you're jumping over their positive to run their electronics.
Look them up in parallel, not series.
Yes.
What if we do it in a series of 3 batteries, then we just use a code?
What do you got?
Should you have your car running when you're in the jump?
So, I know a lot of people have different opinions on this. I have done it both ways. If you want to do a slow charge, you can just hook them up with the cars off and just let it kind of trickle a little bit, and then maybe turn your car on afterwards. I don't know what the safety people properly say you're supposed to do, but I usually have my car running beforehand because I like being dangerous. But let me see. I think you're supposed to hook the positive up first and then the negative. So you do positive, positive, and then negative, negative. Because when you're hooking up car batteries, since they're a little exciting because they have so much power output, if you do accidentally hook something up wrong, it'll only spark a little bit if you have the positive hooked up first, versus if you have negative hooked up first, then it's grounded. So if you drop the jumper cable out of your hands when you're trying to hook the positive up and it just touches the body somewhere, then it's gonna turn into lightning like before. What?
I was gonna say, when I worked for GM a few years ago, and I'm not saying it hasn't changed, it was your car should be running for some reason because it's better for the computer, and then you do red and black, which
Yeah.
is positive, then like you said, you want your car running, because I guess if it's off and their battery's screwed up somehow and you juice your computer, it can fry your car. Whereas when it's running, the alternator catches that somehow.
Right. Well, I think the reason is because if you hook your battery up to theirs and their battery is like dead, and then you try starting your car, now you have basically a parasitic drain on your battery, so it like takes all the electricity away from your battery to their car while you're trying to start. So it makes more sense to like start your car first. That way it's already running, and the excess power your alternator is making can go towards that dead battery. Kind of like when I was trying to run both of those batteries for yours. Because his Tahoe, I forgot what word it was. His Tahoe had 2 dead batteries. We had to double jump that one. It was a great time.
2 batteries for a double dose of my pimping.
Yeah, that was very expensive to change those. All right, let's not get tangled. Where are we at? Toolbox could be useful. There was a car accident on a side road one time, and their bumper was dragging on the ground, and they were trying to pull their car off to the shoulder, and I was like, here, let me just get my toolbox out, and I can unscrew that one screw that's left for you so that you can just put that in the trunk. And they were very happy that I was able to do that for them. So it comes in handy. Not quite necessary, but could be useful for maybe someone else later.
Like when your Jeep randomly vapor locks.
I don't want to talk about it. Cash on hand, $20 to $50, second credit and or debit card if you are somebody that wants a second credit or debit card. That is basically because if your wallet gets lost, you at least have cash in your car somewhere that's not visible. That's the key. Make sure the cash is not visible, because otherwise somebody will just punch out your window to take it, no matter how much money it is.
And buy meth.
Yes, and buy meth. So that is just there so that you can buy yourself an extra tank of gas if you need to, if you lost your wallet. Yeah.
I've actually been in certain areas where there's like almost 150 miles between services, and I didn't quite, the sign was not there when I went through, and I had to like pull over some little like wide spot, and they did not. There was a guy that had like some random like guy, had a gas can in his truck, and he's like, I'll give you gas for like $20, but he's at like 15.
Did he still give you some?
Yeah.
You just buy gas from some dude on the side of the road.
But like having cash like that, because there are places that don't have card.
Right. Or the card just isn't working for whatever
Billy
reason.
Bob
Can't believe you just told me a story about late stage capitalism. Am I supposed to feel good from that? Yes, what do you got?
To add to that, there's also situations like with Hurricane Helene that came through my area. There was a run on gas, so you couldn't find any anywhere unless you had some spare.
Right.
I got one for you. Literally where I live, the internet just went out. There was one line that goes up to this rural town that is between a very important destination in Canada and anywhere you want to go in America from there. And you couldn't use, the only way to buy gas at the pumps was cash. No cards were working, and they weren't taking Canadian money. It got interesting.
Or when Verizon's nationwide outage hit.
Yeah. Funny times we're living in right now, sorry. I think he had something to do with that. That's what the Tahoe is for. He's building his own Mad Max vehicle for when he goes back.
I have a Mad Max vehicle. It's my 82 Dodge D50.
You know what? You're right. Yeah. I guess that makes sense. Okay, what's left? Yeah, reserve fuel. I guess we just talked about that, so now you understand why we would want reserve fuel in case you can't buy gas for whatever reason. Next slide, please. Thank you. I believe this is just a funny video I added in, so I can play this first as an icebreaker intermediary thing. Look at this. I am barely wide enough to fit through this parking lot. That's a good thing, right? Is that what people want? There it is, main character syndrome. This doesn't quite work. Hey. Well, at least my paws are still big enough to touch the pedals. There we go.
Very crispy.
Sorry, my sound is perfect. This is actually the convention center's problem. Look, I'm giving you live TikTok experience right now. Okay, suggested items, obviously, like stuff you don't really have to do, but let me look at this so I can actually see. Sorry, I'm blind. Change your oil before long trips. That's good. Gives you a little better gas mileage. Not quite necessary. I know newer cars, the oil lasts like forever now, so you don't quite need to do that, but if you're coming up on an oil change, you can just change it a little bit sooner, and then your road trip will be nice and smooth. You'll get like an extra mile or two per gallon, per kilometer, liters per whatever, wherever you're from, yeah. Tow straps. This is a fun one. I know most people wouldn't want to just randomly tow cars, but I had fun doing that in Oklahoma. I came across a bunch of weed smokers on the side of the road in their Honda CR-V when I was driving home from my first workplace in like 2016. and it was like 10:30 at night, so it was nighttime. The freeway was empty, because Oklahoma City's not that big, and it was just this like Honda on the side of the road, and I passed by it, and there was just like, there was a guy sitting next to it, and there was another guy just like walking on the up ramp, and I was like, those people look like they need help. So I turned around and I went back to them, and I'm like, hey, do you guys need help? And they're like, yeah, my car died. I don't know what to do. But luckily they told me that that exit they were sitting on was the exit their house is at. And I'm like, okay, well, I have a tow strap in the back. I can just pull you the rest of the way. And let me tell you, their eyes lit up and they were like, oh my gosh, really? And so I just hooked it up to the back of my Jeep, and I just leisurely pulled their Honda back to their house, and then the rest of their weed smoker roommates came out and they all helped us push it into the driveway for them. And then they were like, wow, thank you so much for helping us. Do you smoke weed? Do you want some weed? And I'm like, no, I'm good, thank you though. But I just thought it was funny that they offered me weed in exchange for helping them get their car home. But tow straps could be useful. Another random story, I went to a gas station once. That's the end of the story. This post brought to you by Tesla Incorporated. Anyway, I went to this gas station, and there was this like little tiny pickup truck, like on the median of the road, like you know how they have those like center dividers? It was like in between those, perpendicular, just sitting there. And I was like, why is there a truck in the median? And there was like some guys like talking, and I'm like, hey, is that your truck? Do you need help? And he's like, yeah, I forgot to put the parking brake on, and it just rolled away. And now, and now it's stuck because it's a rear-wheel drive little like Chevy S10, so it's just stuck there because it can't climb over the median. And so they were like talking about how they were going to try to like push it over or lift it up and push it over the median. And I was like, I have a tow strap in the back of my car. And they're like, really? And one of the other guys had like an F-350. So they're like, okay. So I gave them the tow strap. They just hooked it up to the truck and just whoop, just pulled it right off the median. So they were very happy for that as well. Like really random, funny things. So it could be useful for someone when you're out, even if you aren't the one using it. Yes, what do you got?
I was driving through Texas one time, and there was a guy in his F-350 stuck on the side of the road. He pulled over to like take a leak, like in the middle of nowhere, and he forgot to put it in four-wheel drive before trying to get out of the mud. Sunk the rear diff all the way up to the mud, and then proceeded to sink the front all the way up to the mud, the diff. And I had a little Subaru Outback, and he had a tow chain. And he looked at the two things and was like, this ain't gonna work, and I might just pull it out.
I like to think when he said that, he was like, watch me.
Like, this ain't gonna work, and then watch me.
Small top, big bottom.
Maybe you blow a tire on your trailer and have to pull your truck off into some Missouri mud, and it immediately sinks.
This is what happens when you go with budget rentals. U-Haul never did that to me. I did lose the roof of my car though, but that wasn't U-Haul's fault. That was the previous owner for not latching it down.
That was just upsetting because we had plans that day.
Oh, so
Yes.
and then like as you drove away, just
Yeah, it was a Target top, and I bought this car like 200 or so miles away. It was the worst decision ever. Don't buy a Fiat X19. But so I loaded it on the trailer. I drive home. I get back to my house in Oklahoma City, and I get out of the truck, and the roof is just gone. I'm like, huh. I thought there was a roof on this when I picked it up. I never found it. But my U-Haul insurance gave me money to buy a new one, which is hilarious. That was a very funny story I had to tell them. But I paid for the insurance, and it covers everything, so including the roof flying off, apparently. Where are we at? Air compressor or fix-a-flat. Obviously, if you have a spare but it's flat, if you have an air compressor, you can re-inflate it. Or if one of your main tires are going flat and you're not near a gas station that has those little air thingies, you can just stop and re-inflate it yourself. It's very useful. My air compressor is a little tiny. I put it in a little storage compartment in the back of my car, so it's useful if I need it. You have a question?
well, two things. One, the other thing with the air compressor is, chances are your car came with one. Look in the manual; it'll tell you a compartment to look in. I had a Nissan Leaf. It was like you had to pull a little cover off in the trunk, and it looked like you were just reaching into part of the car, but there was a pump there.
It came with an air compressor? Wow.
Yeah, a lot of cars nowadays come with that, and like they'll have a little thing of fix-a-flat that hooks onto it.
New cars come with air compressors? Wow.
Yeah, and then I just had a question. Do you have any recommendations that would pertain to an electric car? Because I drive an Ioniq 5, or is it mostly just the same kind of stuff with like recovery equipment? And
Yeah. This isn't dependent on the type of car you drive, because obviously electric cars still have tires.
Yeah, like they can tell you stuff.
Frank's dash, that's your grandpa.
Yeah, but you do have battery coolant, so you want to check your battery coolant, which is similar to the normal coolant. So there is still certain things that you want to check in the same manner. So maybe not quite applied the same way,
All
but
I've really been doing so far is just before a road trip, I'll just like run it to the Hyundai dealer because they'll do it for inspections on it.
yes, that is good as well. Have somebody else do it for you.
Especially someone who is authorized by the manufacturer and knows exactly about that car.
Electric cars do also have oil.
Yeah, there's a gearbox oil, but generally it's like every 70,000 miles, so at least according to the manual of mine.
Yeah, that's what I like about the electric cars is
It
that
just goes.
with most cars, like if you have a manual transmission, your manual transmission oil lasts for a really long time because it doesn't come in contact with the gas or whatever fuel you're burning in the engine, which is why your engine oil gets dirty so fast because it comes in contact with that. So your transmission, your rear axle, your front axle, whatever, those don't come in contact with the fuel, so they don't get dirty as easily. But you also still want to check them occasionally if you have like a four-wheel drive vehicle, because if you go through some deep water and your little vent hose is unplugged like on mine, then it fills with water and your oil gets all juicy.
When you go to change your automatic transmission fluid, take the top plug out first. If you take the drain plug out and you can't get the top one out, you're screwed.
All right, I won't go into how to change your oil or any of that. However, I do have a video on YouTube for how to change your oil if you want to look into that sometime. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
What happens if we don't?
You just don't change your oil.
192.168.
If we don't like it, subscribe.
Oh.
Anyways.
Don't change your oil, your car just ends.
Where are we? Road flares. Road flares are useful, not quite necessary to have, but if you're in the middle of nowhere and you need to alert oncoming cars that maybe your car is stuck in the middle of the road, like if you have a Chevy vehicle and your lower ball joint just decides that it does not want to continue anymore and your wheel comes off and your vehicle is just stuck in the middle of the road, road flares are a good way to alert people there is danger ahead. So maybe having like one or two.
Like some one-horse town, you need those road flares.
What are you talking about?
One of the other
You can also
movies you
get
did where you got stuck in
get
some
back
hoedown
triangles for
town
like
with
30
flat
bucks.
tires.
Oh yeah.
Had to fight a bunch of animatronic creatures.
Oh yeah, that one. Fire extinguisher, speed wrench. The speed wrench is that little cross thing that I was telling you about to help with your lug nut removal. They do take up a lot of space, so I don't quite carry one in my car all the time, but they're good to have to like kind of throw in the back if you're going on a road trip, so you have one. It helps make them come off faster. Or if you're my dad, then you have one of those electric wireless impact wrenches and you can just go psh, 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 psh. And that is pretty nice, but that's a little too expensive for me, so I'm not gonna carry one of those.
Christmas is coming up, maybe one of your loyal fans will buy you an impact wrench.
I have the plug-in one, I don't need the wireless thing. But yeah, fire extinguisher, once again, not quite for you. You might come across somebody else that may have cooked their brakes on the downhill and you can stop and help them out. We were behind an RV when we were going to Mexico one time, and they were riding their trailer brakes, and the rear axle caught on fire. So luckily the guy behind us pulled over and immediately like helped them start putting it out. But if you have a fire extinguisher, you could also help with that as well. Or if your car catches on fire, you can at least try to put that out before your car barbecues itself.
Or at least tame the fire long enough.
Yes. All right. Now that we're done with all the normal stuff, we can talk about some road etiquette. What's our time? What are we at?
It's 3:50. You got 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Well, I'm almost done, so just dragging this out. Road etiquette. If you camp in the left lane, I also hate you, almost as much as the people that have the hazy windshields. Please, if you are on a highway that is only 2 lanes, please don't stay in the left lane, because not only are the zoomy cars going to be trying to go around, but if there are emergency vehicles doing 100 and something to try and get to some car accident miles and miles away, and you are in the left lane, you are blocking them. It is dangerous for them to go around you at 40 over whatever speed you're doing. So my roommate loves camping the left lane. We got pulled over by somebody on our way to Tulsa because he was trying to do exactly that and came flying up behind us and had to ride his brakes to slow down because there was somebody in the right lane that was kind of near us and he couldn't just zip between both of us because the gap wasn't big enough for his speed. So he pulled us over instead, because I guess he had enough time to do that, but he just lectured him the entire time about how he shouldn't be in the left lane because that's dangerous for emergency vehicles. So if not for cars that are trying to go fast, like me, but not too fast because that's illegal, you know, please don't stay in the left lane. Only if you're passing people, like what, and then people online complain about that. They're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just continuously get in and out of the left lane as I'm passing people? The answer is yes. Yes, you're supposed to do that. It's just like if you're on a one-lane road. You pass them, you get back in your lane, and then you stay in that lane again. That's exactly what I do. It makes sure that the left lane stays open, because even if I am doing 15 over the speed limit on Minecraft, there are still cars that occasionally come by me doing 20 or 25 over, because I guess they have somewhere to go faster than me. But please, don't camp in the left lane. Make me angry. Yeah, moving over for stop vehicles, that's also important because it gives them extra room. If you're the one on the shoulder changing your tire, you feel a lot more comfortable when cars move over and give you that entire lane of space, because maybe there's not enough shoulder for you to pull over. So it's nice doing that for other people as well. So be courteous to those people to give them some space so that they can do whatever they need to do on the side of the road. Matching road conditions. I don't really need to talk too much about this, but if you're going to be doing 20 over when it's raining and you can barely see, don't. Courtesy to semi-trucks. Like, this is just something I like talking about because I'll be driving along on the road and there's a lot of traffic and there will be a truck with his turn signal on to try and get into another lane, and cars will just be continuously going around him. And so I just kind of slow down a little bit so that he can pass the one vehicle that he's trying to get around and then get back in the other lane. So it's nice to do that to them because they have jobs that they're trying to get to. So being nice to them is helpful as well, and it keeps congestion down because then they don't end up passing somebody on one of those very steep uphills where they're both doing 15 miles an hour. What's that last one? Pacing with vehicles. Pacing. Please don't do that. If your cruise control is set 1 mile an hour faster than the car you're going around, please don't. That happens so often to me when I'm trying to go to MFF. Ironically, I didn't drive here this year, but it's only 300 miles from St. Louis, and somehow that still happens like every 10 minutes or so, that there's someone in front of me that's doing like 2 miles an hour faster than the car they're passing. What I like to do is if my car is doing 2 miles an hour faster than the car I'm passing, I will just step on the gas a little bit to increase my speed temporarily so that I can get around them faster, and then once I'm back in the other lane, I'll let off the gas and it'll coast back down to the 2 miles an hour faster than that person, so I'm not lingering in the other lane, because all that does is create more traffic and it makes a bunch of angry drivers. And we're trying to prevent angry drivers because angry drivers do dumb things and then they hit you doing 30 over when you're trying to drive to a doctor's appointment at 7:30 in the morning.
With no insurance.
With no insurance. Or
and
registration.
Your car is worth $300.
Yeah, at least according to the insurance. Okay, next up. Breakdowns. Try to move as far over as you can, obviously. I know I say obviously, but if you have room to, try to, so you get as much space as you can to do whatever you need to, or just be out of the way. I'll try to speed up a little since I'm taking too long on this one. If you need to call somebody, like a tow truck or someone, tell them which direction you were going. If you remember which mile marker you were at, so when you're driving down the road, just on occasion look at mile markers so that if anything does happen, you can at least remember what the last mile marker you passed was, or maybe an exit sign, exit number, or whatever. It helps them get to you faster so that you don't have to sit there for 3 hours waiting for the tow truck to find you, because when the tow truck had to pick up my car, they thought I was going the other direction, so they went the wrong way down the freeway and then had to turn around like 5 miles down, come back up on the other side. And then there's traffic at that point, so then they had to go around the traffic. Yeah, it was a great time, so it's helpful so that they can find you easier. Is there a panel in here afterwards, or can I just take it forever? I don't remember if I saw one. I should have looked. Towing coverage. The good thing about most insurance companies now is they actually have towing coverage as part of your insurance premium that you could add into it. But remember to look into that so you can see what it actually covers.
It looks like your panel's the last one in here.
Oh, cool. Okay, so I can just take forever then. As long as you're all interested in hearing me continue talking about this. I mean, you all haven't left yet, so I would say that's a okay at least. So, my insurance towing coverage only covers me to the nearest Toyota dealer for my Toyota or Jeep dealer for my Jeep, which, as funny as that is, if the Toyota dealer is like 50 miles away, they will cover the 50 miles of towing, which normally tow trucks charge you like $1.50 a mile or something ridiculous, plus the hookup fees or whatever. So they'll cover that, and if it's further than that, then you have to pay extra. So when I drove my car back from the paint shop for the first time, and for whatever reason, my engine fan caught one of my harness wires and unplugged the harness, and then my engine shut off in the middle of the road, and me and my friend had to push my car into the parking lot on the corner, and I had to call a tow truck to come pull me the rest of the way. I didn't know that's what happened at first, but I did an engine swap in my car, so the harness wasn't quite secured, and I guess the paint shop pulled my bumper off to do something, and so when they put it back on, they put the harness in the wrong spot, so it was inside the engine fan shroud, and when the engine fan turned on, it sucked it in and pulled the socket apart, which had the power wire, so my engine just turned off and then wouldn't turn back on, and I was like, oh, my car died. But right before that happened, I just heard this awful banging sound. So I just opted for the tow truck to tow it back, and then I would look at it at home. But the tow truck only covered 3.5 miles out of the 11 miles that I had to go, so I had to pay $12 to tow my car the rest of the way, however much that was. Yeah.
At one point on my car, there was a recall for like the charging system, basically because EVs have the 12-volt battery still. And the issue was that at some point it would blow its fuse, and then you just don't have a 12-volt system anymore, and your car is just stuck. So I was coming home from the college nearby because I used to be a student there, and I was like basically just stuck into use their big printer.
You used to be a student. What happened?
I could not handle the case of the course load and ended up just dropping out. But yeah, so
Furries did this.
fair enough. But yeah, so I was there and I was on my way home. I start the car, I hear this like big pop, and then I just get a big warning thing on the dash saying, check EV system. Ah, shit. Because this was entirely my fault because the recall had been out for like.
So wait, that's on your electric car?
Yeah. It was a recall on it, like.
Oh.
Yeah, there was an issue with the module where either it would throw a code that if it only threw the code, it just needed a software update, but if it popped a fuse, the entire module had to be replaced.
RIP.
So at least it was covered because of the recall.
Cool.
But yeah, I had to take it to the dealer, and they had it for probably about a week or so. But when it actually had happened, I was able to get out of the schoolhouse. I'm like, okay, something is very wrong here, but I can get home. Probably it was like a 20-mile drive home. And so I'm like, I pull out of the parking lot and I hit the pedal, and I'm like, oh, I can't go above 25, this is bad. And so I pull it near my parking lot, and it's just progressively slowing down to the point where it won't go above like 3 miles an hour. And then just every warning light starts coming on, and every system is just like, oh God, I don't have 12 volts anymore, help. And by the time the tow truck got there, they literally had to put a jumper bag on it just to get it to move, so they could, like, just so I could release the parking brake so they could get it on there. And the other thing I had with it at one point, I hit a deer, and the shop.
What did the deer do to you?
But it will.
Oh. Okay. I guess we'll have to speed this up to finish it.
But yeah, so what had happened was the shop, like, at some point it left the hood open, and the car has a battery tender feature where it'll keep the 12-volt battery from running down unless the hood is open. Because the hood was damaged, they had removed the hood, and it was parked for about 3 weeks without ever being started.
Oops.
And apparently EVs just drain their 12-volt battery a lot faster, I guess just because mine has blue link, so it's probably the cell modem dialing
Yeah.
as well. And so it killed the battery. I pick it up, and nothing seems wrong, except a little post-it note that had been dropped in the passenger footwell saying that the 12-volt battery had died, and they had to jump it at one point. So I go over and ask about that, and they're like, oh yeah, the battery's empty at some point, we had to jump it. I'm like, okay, it was parked for a few weeks, that's fair. Except I was going on a road trip, and on the way back, I get this awful rotten egg smell. It happened right in the charger, so I thought it was just, okay, this charger's broken. It continued, and then I get home and I found out the battery cooked itself, and I had to get a new 12-volt battery.
Man.
Sweet, you're welcome. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, 'cause I came out one day and like I was working in the garage or something like a few days after the trip, and I smell that smell again. I go out to my car and it's making angry hissing and popping noises, and there's smoke coming out from under the hood because it was trying to charge the now very damaged 12-volt battery.
Ooh.
Thankfully, I knew.
That's scary.
Thankfully, I knew where the emergency disconnect on it was. So I just yanked that to cut power. But yeah, that was like $180 for a new battery, and
Elon Musk was coming to get you.
But, and the annoying thing is, the shop wouldn't cover it because it was like 2 weeks after the fact, and they're like, "Oh, well, how do we know that's us? You were the ones that ran the battery down." Because I tried to like call into Hyundai because I wanted to just get a thing to prove that had happened, not even to get the money from them, but just because I found out the smell was apparently toxic gas, and I told them like, "Yeah, no, you could have killed me."
Oh, yeah.
Just to drop that on
Oops.
their desk. But yeah, I'll let someone else speak.
Quispy. Okay, was there a question back here? I thought I saw something.
Hey, what's next on the list?
Fine, I'll keep talking. Oh.
Just
Technical
short, like,
difficulties. Temporary fixes. I'll do that one last. That's what that picture on the right is for.
Oh God.
I was gonna ask
Helping other vehicles. Okay, this is something I do on occasion just because I carry stuff with me, like I was talking about before. But if you feel like it, if you see somebody that looks like they might need help, you can stop and ask. Doesn't hurt. But we are living in strange times recently, so some people also try and steal your car by posing like somebody that needs help, so it's kind of hard to tell nowadays. But it's the thought that counts, so maybe we can help people. So for temporary fixes, this picture is, how many car batteries are visible there? Is that 4?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's half of them. I had 8 car batteries. So we were coming back from camping in Missouri, me and my roommate. This is that roommate from before that had no oil in his car. And we were on our way back on this rural highway, and his truck just randomly dies. It's like, oh no, what happened? And so a highway patrol person shows up, and he's like, hey, you all need help? And he's like, yeah, my truck turned off. I think it just needs a jump. And so we jump start it, starts up, and it's running fine. It's like, okay, I guess that was it. So we get back on the road, and then it just immediately dies again. It's like, oh no, what's wrong? And so from process of elimination, because the jump starting started it, but then it died immediately, or not immediately, but within like 30 seconds. I think his alternator was dead, and so it was only running on the battery. So the jump start gave it a tiny bit of power, but once it ran low, then it just stopped working. So how do we fix that when we're 300 miles away from Oklahoma City and we both have work Monday morning, and it's currently Sunday evening, 5:30 p.m. The nearest U-Haul closes at 6 p.m. and it is an hour away. What do we do at that point?
Just keep rotating batteries.
So we found a general store. So this was a low sell area. So we eventually were able to search and find a general store. We went down there. We're like, hey, do you have like jumper cables or something to help us? And they're like, no, but you can go down to the Super Walmart that's down the road. And we're like, a Super Walmart? And I was like, I have an idea. So we go to the Super Walmart down the road, because luckily we had 2 vehicles with us at least. So we were in the other one at that point. And we couldn't leave the truck there either, because all of his camping gear and all of his stuff was in there, and the other car was a little tiny car, so we couldn't fit all that in there and just leave the truck empty. So just for some background on why we couldn't just leave it there. So we left him there instead, and we went to the Super Walmart, and I slammed down my credit card, and I'm like, I need 8 car batteries and a set of wrenches. And they're like, okay. So I bought $1,000 worth of car batteries on a credit card. And we come back to his truck with all these car batteries. And I'm like, I don't know how well this is gonna work, but we're gonna find out. So I put this new car battery in his truck, and the truck turned on, and everything was fine. It's like, okay, let's just go for it and see what happens. So we take off, we just get on the highway, and we're just driving along. We're driving along, we're driving along, we're driving along, we're driving along. We've been going for like an hour now. This truck's still running on no alternator and 1 single car battery for an hour. It's getting dark, so we're gonna have to turn the lights on, so that'll probably drain it faster, but I'm looking at our little odometer that we had set. We're at like 80 something miles. And eventually at like 87 miles, his truck finally sputters and dies again. And I'm like, you know, that was actually really, really far. Let's try it again. So we just take that dead battery out, we put another new battery in. It's like, okay, go. And we just drive it along, and since it's nighttime now, this one only lasted like, I think 63 miles or whatever. I don't know, it was like 2017 when this happened. But, so it dies again, and at this point, we had this down to a science, so he pulls over, we pull over, he immediately opens his hood, I come out with the battery in hand, come running up to his truck, pull the old one out, put the new one in, hook it back up, close his hood, and just have him go. And so he immediately takes off again, and we just basically hot potato his truck home with all these car batteries. Yes, and we eventually make it back to Oklahoma City at like 3:30 in the morning on the 7th battery with one battery left. And so I put that 8th battery in there, which gives him enough enough distance for him to go to work the next morning. And then the next day we went to AutoZone and bought a new battery for his truck, and I changed that out for him. So.
What about the alternator?
It worked. That's what I meant. I meant I changed out the alternator for him. Sorry.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
just keep buying batteries.
And so then I changed out the battery, and then I changed out the battery, and then I changed out the battery, and then I changed out the no. And so then afterwards, I took all those batteries, and I went back to Walmart, and I was like, hey, these don't fit my car. Can I get a refund? And they're like, looking at all these batteries, they're like, sure.
Yeah, that's Walmart return for you. They don't care.
And so then they returned all the batteries. And now I'm very proud of that happening. You can't do that anymore, unfortunately. I don't think Walmart lets you return batteries anymore.
I think, no, they do. I bought one for a project where I wanted to add like an inverter in my car just for like camping and stuff. Ended up not being able to finish the project, and they took it back.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, as long as you're within their 90 days, they don't care.
Cool. Yeah.
Also,
there-
you can't like look at you.
The other funny
like,
return
I
policy.
literally just put it on a charger, and that was it.
The other funny return policy was when my car got hit by the uninsured person, and my engine alternator bracket went through the side of the battery and put a huge hole in it, and so all that battery acid leaked out. And that battery was like a year old, and so I was like, I wonder if I can just warranty exchange this. So I went to Walmart with this huge hole in the side of the battery, and I'm like, hey, this battery stopped working. Can I get it replaced? And they like they look at it, they're like, I guess so. So they replaced my battery for free. But yes, I thought that was pretty funny. Where are we at? I think that's everything for this one. What's next? Season specific. Let's play this video just so you can see this nice video. It's a little washed out, but wow.
My ears.
I wasn't expecting TikTok Vine Boom Extended Edition. So that is a video that I very dangerously recorded myself when I was driving on I-40 towards Albuquerque with a rental car. They closed the freeway after I passed through, of course. That is the one semi-truck, which is the only other car on the road in front of me. There's 2 feet of fresh snow. It is blizzard whiteout conditions. They had the road closed due to the amount of snow that was on it, but obviously all the cars that were past where they closed it just had to keep going. So I had a fun time sliding my way to Albuquerque, I should say, because that truck didn't know where he was going, and I could tell because I was just following his tracks, and he was just right rumble strip to left rumble strip, back to right rumble strip, back to left rumble strip, and like that was how he was going along. Because all you see is just
the 14-hour limit hard.
yeah, just white. There was no, you couldn't see where the edges of the road were, and every probably 30 seconds or so, his front bumper, which was pushing the snow along, would drop a big like chunk of snow, of like compacted snow, and so that would hit my car, and the car would like go, and then like recenter itself, and I'm like.
Reminds me of like a drive home. I was at like the Baltimore IKEA, and like I'm coming down the hill. I started reaching brake a little bit, and I'm like, nope, not doing that.
Yeah, same thing. So I can continue the story so you can hear what happened afterwards, if you want. So what happened? I'm just gonna tell it anyway. So what happened was, eventually, an extra large chunk of snow fell down on the truck, and it hit the front of the car, and the whole car just turned sideways. And I'm like, all right, I guess we're doing this now. And the car just like slid down the embankment into the center median, like to the left there. And I'm like, I'm not getting stuck in the snow here. So I just punched the gas, turned the wheel all the way to the right, and the car spun itself around, propelled itself back up the embankment and back onto the road, and then it went right back behind the semi again. And there was a car that was following behind me at that point. He just like watched my car go like down the hill. It was just gone, and then back up the hill, and then back up onto the road.
Cue top thumping top wave.
Yeah. So That was very scary. I wish I took my car, because my car is at least 4-wheel drive and has all-terrain tires. This was just a little Toyota Corolla that I rented, because my car, road trip panel